I am your student. I have been studying your books and notes for 20 years, so I would like to learn more. Get acquainted with your opinion on this issue. Let's start with the way of thinking, how people think. Successful people know. When I started, I almost never had money. I was born into a poor family. I didn't finish school, so I was black. Workers told me then that without good grades at school I would have no future. I would never earn my living. A good life, I won't find a good job, I won't be able to marry a good girl, and I assured this and continued to work for wear and tear. I worked in factories and on farms, I worked on construction sites, mills and even ship, and then when I stopped doing menial labor, I got a job in sales. It was direct sales, that is, I walked from door to door all day long. I did this for 6 months. The money I earned was barely enough for food, and then one day I did something that changed my life when I went to the senior salesman who was selling that the same product as me. How old were you? I was 24, and he earned 10 times more than everyone else, and at the same time he didn't. I worked tirelessly. I got up every morning at 600 at 8:00. I started work and worked all day until 900 or 1000 p.m. knocking on the doors of possible buyers. Sometimes I worked 13 to 14 hours, and this man worked 4 to 5 hours a day. And then in the middle of the day I went to restaurants, nightclubs, allowed myself a good vacation, and so I went to him and did something that changed my life. I asked him, why you are more successful than me, what are you doing? And he answered me, I do. I still remember his answer. He said, well, I'll show you how to sell. He told me the basic principle and I just couldn't believe his words. It was like I was trying to open a combination lock. I don't know the right combination of numbers. I would never. I managed, and he came up and said, here are the numbers 1, 2, 3, and the lock opened. I then learned that all the skills sales need to learn, that I can learn to sell well. I started voraciously reading books and listening. Let me clarify. You asked a question, yes. How are you? Why do you think so few people ask questions like this? I asked the same thing when I was 22. The same question asked why some people are more successful than others, and naturally came to the answer because they know something that is unknown to everyone else. But most people don't ask such a question, but he. Obvious. But that's the whole point. I realized that people assume that there is some kind of secret in all this, that successful people have some special quality, and also people are just afraid. They think I can't ask a successful person such a question. So they decide I'm just suitable for my position and he is suitable for his, and sometimes comes to terms with this until the end of his life. Days, and people like me and you, we ask in successful why. A few years later I met a man who wrote 4 books about success. Each book had 250 principles of success in the last century. He sold 40 million copies of his books, and I asked him, because I had read all his books, what was the most important of all principles. Success. In response, he smiled broadly and said, learn from the experts. He said, learn from other people, from those who have already achieved success. This is exactly what happened to me. I asked a question, received an answer, and realized that all the answers had already been found. One more thing, everyone starts from scratch. No one is successful at the very beginning. Everyone starts without knowledge, without skills, and then learning words that he didn't say made me engage in self-development. I then asked if I could do something else, and he said, have you read any books on sales? I didn't know there were books about sales, and I started reading them, and another one. There were much fewer books back then, yes, but I still remember some of them. Books were written by people with 30 years of experience, and they said this is how sales should be done, and it works, and this works. I realized one very important thing, Alex, when I hear a new idea, I immediately apply it. I discovered that most people, when they hear a new new idea, don't do anything with it, they just talk about it. Good idea, and if I may give you good advice, here it is: as soon as you hear a good idea, immediately use it, in most cases immediately. It won't work, and let it happen the second time too, and the second time maybe the 10th time, but it's like riding a bike. I will ask your audience, that's how yesterday any of you know how to ride a bike. I asked what's going on. When you first get on a bike, they answer you fall. It always happens while you are learning a new skill. You make mistakes. Some people are so afraid of making mistakes that they don't try anything new, and their life never changes for the better. What I knew from him I called the law of reason and consequences, law of cause and effect. This is a very important law. It was the teacher who taught you sales. Yes. When I started studying everything about success, I discovered the law of cause and effect, which sounds like if there is an effect or goal of something you want to achieve in life, find someone else who has achieved this goal and do the same things that he did, then you will get the same result. This is the main rule of success. This is how you find reasons, and if you want to achieve something in life, be it success in business, success in finance, an opportunity, become good parents, earn big money, for example. I learned this from Earl Nightingale. He said if you want to double your income, find someone who earns twice as much as you and ask how he does it. And as I always said, if today someone earned twice as much as you, one day this someone earned half as much and then did something new, and if you ask you, they will answer successful people like to share their success with others. So you and I, we ask questions, we ask successful people personally, we look for the answer in their books, we read and listen a lot, we go to seminars, take notes and then move on to action. The law of reason and the consequence is that every effect in life, health, wealth, happiness has a reason. If you repeat the reasons, in the end you will get the same results that other people got, and if you don't repeat, then you won't get it. We all know that success is not accidental, and their failures are not accidental either. There are specific reasons. Sometimes I compare it to cooking a dish at home on kitchen. If you have a good recipe from a 3-star restaurant, just practice and this dish will be. You succeed every time. The same applies to sales.